Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Ashta Saki Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Pancha Tattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udiret nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 13, verse 36-37. I will read 36, then we repeat together 37. Vimrijya shruni panibhyam vishtabhyatmanamatmana ajata shatrum pratyuche prabhopadav anusmaran. Translation. First he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence, and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Then verse 37, Sanjaya uvacha naham veda vyavasitam pitrorva kulanandana gandaryava mahabaho mushitosmi mahatmabhihi. Sanjaya uvacha naham veda vyavasitam pitrorva kulanandana gandaryava mahabaho mushitosmi mahatmabhihi. Okay. Sanjaya uvacha Sita Sanjaya uvacha naham veda vyavasitam pitrorva kulanandana gandaryava mahabaho mushitosmi mahatmabhihi. Sanjaya uvacha naham veda vyavasitam pitrorva kulanandana gandaryava mahabaho mushitosmi mahatmabhihi. Sanjaya uvacha naham veda vyavasitam pitrorva kulanandana gandaryava mahabaho mushitosmi mahatmabhihi. Okay. Word for word. Sanjaya uvacha. Sanjaya said, Na, not. Aham, I. Veda, no. Vyavasitam, determination. Pitruhu, of your uncles. Va, your Kulanandana, O descendant of the Kuru dynasty, Gandharya of Gandhari, Va or Mahabaho, O great king, Mushita, cheated, Asmi, I have been, Mahatma Bihi, by those great souls. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sanjaya said, my dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls. Purport. That great souls cheat others may be astonishing to know, but it is a fact that great souls cheat others for a great cause. It is said that Lord Krishna also advised Yudhishthira to tell a lie before Dronacharya, and it was also for a great cause. The Lord wanted it, and therefore it was a great cause. Satisfaction of the Lord is the criterion of one who is bona fide, and the highest perfection of life is to satisfy the Lord by one's occupational duty. That is the verdict of Gita and Bhagavatam. Dhritarashtra and Vidura, followed by Gandhari, did not disclose their determination to Sanjaya, although he was constantly with Dhritarashtra as his personal assistant. Sanjaya never thought that Dhritarashtra could perform any act without consulting him, but Dhritarashtra's going away from home was so confidential that it could not be disclosed even to Sanjaya. Sanatana Goswami also cheated the keeper of the prison house while going away to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, Raghunath Das Goswami also cheated his priest and left home for good to satisfy the Lord. To satisfy the Lord, anything is good, for it is in relation with the absolute truth. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Srimad Bhagavatam. Such cheating was necessary for a great cause, and there is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivas Adi Gora Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, yes, thank you. I was trying to, okay, yeah, that's better. Thank you. So this is an interesting turn of events. Last time I was giving class, I was speaking how Mayavadi gurus are cheaters because they discuss Bhagavatam, and this is not their process. And then what what was implied, that because for us devotees to discuss Bhagavatam, this is our process, we are not cheaters. So now I got this verse where I have to explain that we are also cheaters and that it's okay to be a cheater. And it's interesting that the Shastra and Bhagavatam put us into these different situations where we have opportunity to practice seeing the world, reality, and the Shastra itself from different angles of vision. This is an expression that Srila Prabhupada often used, that we need to practice seeing things and topics and problems from different angles of vision. So this is my challenge for today. I would like to refer to these examples that Srila Prabhupada is speaking about in his purport of devotees cheating. And the first example he gives is example of Yudhishthira, who had to lie to Dronacharya on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So the story is that toward the end of the battle, after Bhishma left, Dronacharya assumed the position of being the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava army. And he was very expert at arranging soldiers into formations, and he arranged soldiers in such a formation that they could advance, and also he was leading them, but the Pandava army, they could not approach him. And then there was a prophecy that Drishtadyumna was it was his life mission to kill Drona Acharya, but he could not come near him. So then Krishna, he said, it is not possible to defeat him while Dronacharya is wielding weapons in his hands, so we have to make him give up his weapons. And the only way to do this is to cheat him. So we have to tell him that his son Ashwatthama died. And this will disturb him, and he will lower his weapons, his bow and arrows. So when Yudhishthira heard this, he was in shock. He was flabbergasted. How can he tell a lie? How can he cheat? He's the son of Dharma. He is Dharma personified. He never told a lie in his life. But then what happened is that Bhima, he didn't hesitate, and he immediately jumped and went to fight a general in Kaurava army who had an elephant, and this elephant was also named Ashwatthama. So he killed this elephant and the general, and then he started shouting, Ashwatthama died, Ashwatthama died, and he was shouting so loud that Dronacharya heard him. So when he heard this from Bhima, he was thinking, well, I cannot trust Bhima. He can say anything just to trick me. But if I ask Yudhishthira, then for sure he will not lie to me. So he came near, he approached Yudhishthira, so he asked him, is this true? Is Ashwatthama, is my son dead? And then Yudhishthira, he tried to avoid telling a lie by saying to himself, it's the elephant who died. So he said, Ashwatthama died, and then for himself he said, but Ashwatthama, the elephant. Of course, Dronacharya, he didn't hear this. He only heard that Ashwatthama died from Yudhishthira, who is the personification of Dharma and telling the truth. So he became despondent, and he continued fighting, but he was overwhelmed with grief. And then what happened is that his quiver ran out of arrows, and he gave up his arms. He gave up his bow. There were no arrows, and he sat on his chariot, and he actually left his body in a mystic meditation, which happened just a moment before Drishyadumna came and severed his head, because he was waiting for this opportunity all the time. So this is how Yudhishthira cheated. And then Mahabharata explains that after this happened, that his chariot had horses which never touched the ground before this event of Yudhishthira telling a lie. But after he told this lie, then the horses came on earth. They were touching the earth. And explanation is from some sages say that this is because he told a lie, so he did a sinful act. But the other sages, they explain, no, this is because when Krishna told him to tell a lie, that he hesitated. He didn't want to do it he was not convinced immediately. So these are the different explanations. Okay, the other example is of Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami was a minister in the court of the Muslim ruler Hussain Shah. We read this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And both him and Rupa Goswami, they met Lord Chaitanya in Ramakeli, where they did their duty as ministers. And they wanted immediately to leave their posts, but Lord Chaitanya told them, no, for now you should stay where you are, and I will call for you later. I will use you in my service, but not now. Now you have to wait. So they were all the time, while they were doing their service for the Muslim ruler, they were thinking how they want to give up this service and they want to leave and serve Lord Chaitanya. So they were sending messengers, and they were aware that Lord Chaitanya left Bengal and went to Jagannath Puri. Then he went on pilgrimage to South India, and then he came back, and after coming back, he went on a road trip to Vrindavan. So when they heard that he is going back from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri, they wanted to meet him again. And on that occasion, Rupa and Anuttama, their younger brother, there were 3 brothers, together they went to meet him, and then they met him in Prayag. But Sanatana Goswami, he stayed, and he didn't do his service anymore, but he called sick. He stayed home, and while at home he was discussing Bhagavatam with 30 other brahmanas. So this was going on, and after some time, the Muslim ruler, he asked this physician, so why Sanatana Goswami, what is happening, what is his sickness? And the physician said, he's not sick, he's just staying at home. And the Muslim ruler, he went to see him personally, and he was shocked to see that he's discussing Bhagavatam with other brahmanas. And he was angry that you are my minister, so how can you quit your duty? I depend on you. And he actually told him that you are like my younger brother, and because my duty is I am a conqueror, I am a military leader, so what I know to do is how to organize army and conquer lands, but I don't know how to administer the country and take care of people, so that is why I need you, because you are expert administrator. But however, Sanatana Goswami, he was determined. He didn't want to serve. He didn't want to take up this service anymore. And he said, "No, now I am devoting my life to Lord Chaitanya." And that is why a Muslim ruler put him in prison. And then, because Rupa Goswami, he predicted there will be some problems, he deposited some money with the local grocer or banker, and then Sanatana Goswami used this money to bribe the guard, and that is how he escaped. And then he met Lord Chaitanya, who was teaching him in Varanasi. So the third example Prabhupada gives is of Raghunath Das Goswami, who also cheated his priest. He was Bengali devotee, born in a rich merchant family, and he met Lord Chaitanya on the occasion when Lord Chaitanya visited Bengal, because his first attempt to go to Vrindavan was when he first time attempted to go to Vrindavan, he came to Bengal first because he wanted to see Ganga river and his mother, and there he stayed in Shantipur and with Advaita Acharya, and on that occasion Raghunath Das Goswami came to see him, and he was very inclined to become a renunciate all his life, although born in a very rich family, opulent family. And when he saw Lord Chaitanya, then he completely became convinced that this is the only thing that he wants to do and dedicate his life to follow him. And he immediately wanted to leave his family. But again, Lord Chaitanya told him, no, for now you stay at home, you practice Krishna consciousness. Externally, you do everything that your family requires of you, because Krishna consciousness does not depend on external circumstances. So inside of you in your thoughts, you practice spiritual life, but externally, you do your duties. So this is what he did. Raghunath Das Goswami, he went back to his family, he even got married, and he was helping his father with his merchant business, and externally he was pretending like he's any other materialistic person. But inside he had this burning desire to leave family and join Lord Chaitanya. So on the occasion when Nityananda Goswami was in Panihati, he came to see him, and he offered obeisances from a distance. And then Nityananda Goswami noticed him, and he called him and punished him by putting feet on his head. And he said, now you also have to sponsor a big feast, chida, dahi, yogurt and chipped rice, and you have to feed all my associates and all the people following me. So Raghunath Das Goswami did that happily, and then he got a benediction from Nityananda, from Lord Nityananda, that I want to live family life and I want to join Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. And Nityananda gave him that benediction that yes, this will happen, don't worry, it will happen without any obstacles. And after some time, so Raghunath Das Goswami, he went home and he was already showing his intention that he was not interested in family life. He was sleeping outside of his house. There was some Durga Mandap, it's explained. So he was sleeping outside. And his parents employed some guards and servants to always keep an eye on him. So if he would try to escape, they would catch him and bring him back, which happened on many occasions. But one night, there was a family priest who came to see him while he was resting on this mandap. And he said, I have a problem that my Brahmana, who is supposed to do puja for deities, he is disobeying me. He doesn't want to do it anymore, and I have to do something to make him do puja. And can you please talk to him? And then Raghunath Das Goswami said, yes, I will do this, of course. And then together they were going toward this Brahmana's house. And the servants, they noticed, okay, so he is with the priest, so he will not run away, because the priest is also keeping eye on him. But then the second that the priest left for his house, then Raghunath Das Goswami, he immediately took this opportunity and he ran away to join Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. And the last example Srila Prabhupada gives is of himself, how he cheated his family. This is a story, how it's a famous story, how his wife was very fond of drinking tea in the afternoon. This was a habit that she picked up from British rulers who were at that time. They were still ruling in India. So because they have this habit in Britain to drink tea at 5 o'clock, so some Indian people were imitating this habit. And it seems that Srila Prabhupada's wife was also doing that. So one day she sold his Bhagavatam set to buy biscuits so she can drink tea, and he became so disappointed, so infuriated, that he told her, "No, now you have drawn the line. This is it. You have to choose. What do you want? You want your tea, or you want me as your husband?" And of course, she didn't take him seriously, and she just said, "Yeah, I want tea. I will continue drinking my tea." And Srila Prabhupada took this as permission to leave, because she obviously didn't choose him. And as I understand, he was getting ready for vanaprastha for some time and leaving family. But because there is a tradition in India that parents, they need to wait for their children to get married. Especially if the daughters are unmarried, then father needs to take care of the children and of daughters. It is his duty to make sure that she is situated, and then he can take vanaprastha. And it seems that one of his daughters, was not situated at that time, and he was trying to make arrangements for her marriage, but his wife was always obstructing his attempts. She wanted that this daughter stays at home, and so time was going on, and Srila Prabhupada said he knew he doesn't have much time to waste. So this is how he tricked his wife and his family, and he left for Vrindavan so that he can translate Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are the examples of how devotees cheated. And what is interesting is we can ask in the first example of Yudhishthir and Krishna telling him to lie and cheat, we could wonder why Krishna did that. There was for sure no need for him. He's the Supreme Person. He could have easily destroyed all of Kaurava's army. So why was there need for him to say that the only way they could be destroyed is by cheating them, and especially cheating Dronacharya? And what is interesting here that is how Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that it is pleasing Krishna is what is Dharma, and not pleasing Krishna is what is not Dharma. And this theme of being affectionate to children, especially to sons, this is the major theme of Dhritarashtra, because in his life he was very affectionate to his 100 sons, Duryodhana and his brothers. And because of this affection, he could not rule properly. He was always doing anything that Duryodhana wanted. And Duryodhana was evil-minded and very envious of Pandavas. So many sages noticed this, and they were giving many advices to Dhritarashtra that you should check your sons. They are not fit to be rulers. They are not virtuous, and Pandavas are virtuous. So it is proper that Pandavas are the kings, and you should give kingdom to the Pandavas. But however, Dhritarashtra, because of his affection to his sons, he was always hesitant to do this, and he would always agree with anything that Duryodhana wanted. So this is how it happened that in the dicing match, which was arranged so that Duryodhana can cheat Pandavas, Dhritarashtra, he didn't interfere. He allowed the gambling match, and then later he allowed Pandavas to be cheated. He also allowed, when Draupadi was being disrobed, he allowed it. He didn't say anything, along with so many of other Kaurava heroes who were present at the assembly. So then the whole story of Mahabharata happened, that they were exiled, the Pandavas were exiled. They had to spend 13 years in a forest, and then 1 more year doing service. And then when they returned, when they were given a desert to live in, to rule, they made this desert a wonderful city, Indraprastha. But then also this, because Duryodhana was so envious that whatever they did, he always envied them. He could not be at peace. So he took also this Indraprastha from them, and then they had to escape. And they escaped, what is the name? They spent, then they went to, King Virata's court. This is where they went. And when they went to King Virata's court, they were trying to form alliances and organize an army so they can fight for their kingdom, so they can fight the Kauravas. So Dhritarashtra found out that they were preparing for the war, and he was not happy. So at that time he sent Sanjaya to try and do a peace negotiation. So Sanjaya went. As we see, he was his closest secretary, assistant, and service. He was his most confidential servant, who was always with him because he was blind, he couldn't see, he needed somebody to assist him at all times. So this person was Sanjaya. And he went to King Virata's court and he met with Pandavas, and Krishna was also present there. And he tried to make this peace negotiation by telling them, why are you preparing for the war? War is not something that pious people do, and you are pious people, and you should accept that Duryodhana will be the ruler, the emperor, and you will be his subjects. You should not fight with him. That was his peace proposal. But then immediately Krishna pointed out to him that it is Yudhishthir who is withholding a dharmic approach, and it is Duryodhana who is breaking the rules of dharma, because he is the one who is hostile toward Pandavas, and Pandavas are the righteous rulers. It was meant for them to be the rulers of the kingdom, of the empire. And he pointed out that you are so close to Dhritarashtra, and he sent you here as his confidential servant, but none of you objected when Draupadi was being disrobed at the assembly. And she called my name, Krishna said, and because she called my name, she asked for me, for my assistance to help her, then I am obliged. And that is why I have to protect, because I have to protect Draupadi, because she obliged me that in this moment of grave distress, she called my name. Also, it was explained by Krishna to Sanjaya that it is the nature of the Kshatriyas to rule and protect people. So it is because this is a dharmic. It is their nature and their dharma, and because Pandavas, they were born as Kshatriyas and they were meant to inherit the kingdom, then it is their dharma that in case that the land was taken away from them, it is their dharma to fight. And then Yudhishthir said, we don't need everything. We just want Indraprastha back. Or even if the king cannot give us Indraprastha, he can give us only 5 villages, and then we can rule these 5 villages. So this was the message that Sanjaya carried back to Dhritarashtra. But even when Duryodhana heard this proposal, he didn't want to accept it, and he famously said, no, I will not give them any land, not as much as can be pinned with a needle. And then this was the cause of the war. So all of this time, Dhritarashtra, he was the only one who could check his sons. He was the only one who could stop the war from happening, but he didn't do it. He felt helpless because his affection to his sons, they overwhelmed him. And I found also interesting how many sages who were speaking to Dhritarashtra, they advised him, they were giving him spiritual knowledge. And in 10th canto, it is described that Akrura went to visit Hastinapura. This was before all the game of gambling game, dicing game, when they were all living together. And on this occasion, already Vidura and Kunti, they told Akrura that it is not a good situation here because Duryodhana is very envious of my sons and he is plotting various schemes to throw them out of the kingdom. So Akrura took this opportunity to preach to Dhritarashtra and explain him how it's not good that you are so affectionate to your sons, especially when they are so evil-minded and envious, and they will cause the ruin of all, including themselves. So then he told him this verse, Eka prasuyate jantur, eka eva praliyate, eko nibhunkte sukritam, eka eva chadushkritam. Every creature is born alone and dies alone, and alone one experiences the just rewards of his good and evil deeds. So what he was trying to tell him is that your relationship to your sons is very affectionate, but at the moment of death, you will not be able to do anything for them, and they will also not be able to do anything for you, because all these relationships, they are temporary, they are material, and people go through different karmas and different lives, and different people are put together in the same family, but ultimately all these ties, they get dissolved. And he also advised him, Tamal lokam imam rajan swapna maya manoratam vikshya ayamya atmanam sama shanto bhava prabho. Therefore, O king, looking upon this world as a dream, a magician's illusion, or a flight of fancy, please control your mind with intelligence and become equipoised and peaceful, my lord. So here the material world and its connections are compared to a dream, a magician's illusion, or a flight of fancy. This Sanskrit word is manoratam, which means a chariot of the mind. It means the mind is driving like a chariot, the soul, to different places if it's not controlled. So he got all this advice from many sages before the war, but he never listened to any of those advices. And sometimes he would just, after getting a good advice, sometimes he would just lament. Sometimes he would say, "This is all a destiny. This must happen." Or he would even say, "This is Krishna's will, so it is his pastime, so it must happen." He never took responsibility and he never took any action. So it is not surprising that when Sanjaya find out that he was gone, that he couldn't understand what happened, because he knew that all his life he was being preached to about spiritual knowledge, and it never changed anything. And because he was his confidential servant, he was always aware what is happening with Dhritarashtra. But what he did not know in this occasion is that when Vidura came to see him in his old age, he was finally able to open his eyes. Just like a verse says, Om Agyanat Mirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Militamyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. Here, this is the translation, but it's interesting that this word shalakaya actually means it's a medical instrument used to apply ointment to eyes afflicted with cataracts, and not exactly torchlight. So what happens is that the eyes are covered with this cataract, seeming like cataract. This is Maya or ignorance, and this is what is making us blind. And then the spiritual master, he's the one who comes, and he uses this instrument, shalakaya, to put ointment. And ointment is a spiritual knowledge and from Shastra. And then we are able to see. So when Vidura was speaking to Dhritarashtra, he finally opened his eyes, and then he was able to leave home and to go to forest and achieve yogic. He left his body in a yogic meditation. So Sanjaya could not anticipate that this will happen, because he knew him his whole life. He knew that he was not able to do this, but Vidura, he managed to make this change at the end of his life. And he managed to do this by speaking very harshly to him. He was very heavy, because this is the business of a guru he can only open the eyes which are blinded by ignorance, by being heavy. And when he told him, you live in the house of Pandavas who killed your sons, and you live here like an old dog, and you are taking scraps from Bhima's plate, and because of your affection to your sons, you actually caused their destruction and the whole and the death of many warriors who died heroically on the battlefield. And you are also a hero, you are also a warrior. And do you want to die like this, like an old dog in your home? He was really heavy with him. And this shocked Dhritarashtra, and then he was able to see, yes, I need to go. Finally, I need to go. And then he left. And Gandhari, he noticed, and she followed him, although she was not obliged to follow him, but because she was very chaste lady, she followed him to the forest. So this is interesting, that what Krishna wanted, this lie that Krishna wanted Dronacharya to hear is also connected with his son. And it was this affection of Dronacharya to his son that was his weakness. It was his only weakness, because beside that he was the perfect warrior. But Krishna knew that he also has affection for his son, and this will make him put his weapons down. And in the Kurukshetra war, of course, it's not black and white. It's not that only Kauravas died and everybody fighting on the side of the Pandava army stayed alive. We know that also Arjuna lost his son Abhimanyu, and Draupadi lost 5 of her sons. But they were able to check their grief, and they were able to, actually Draupadi, she was able to even forgive, because she was the one who asked Ashwatthama to be spared. So this is the contrast between people in Kaurava side and devotees who were on the Pandava side, that devotees, they are able to control their emotions, and they are also able to control their mind. So even in this most tragic circumstance imaginable of a loss of a child, they are still able to see themselves as Krishna's servant, and they are still in that moment able to take shelter of Krishna and see that it is their relationship with Krishna that is eternal, and the other relationships in this world are temporary. And then we see that the other side, Dhritarashtra, he was affectionate for his son, to his sons. And then, instead of helping them, he ruined them because of his affection. And also, Dronacharya was affectionate to his son, but then he was killed. He left body, he was killed. And then Ashwatthama was in return affectionate to his father, and he took revenge by killing Draupadi's son. So Krishna, it seems, very much by this example, he's emphasizing this difference, how non-devotees, they are carried away by their emotions. And although affection for children is considered the most natural dharmic, the most how to say, the most pious circumstance, he is giving these examples to show that actually this affection to children is leading to war and ruination, and it is mind control and listening to turning all emotions toward Krishna and toward what is eternal. This is what is pious, and this is what is dharma. So in all these different circumstances in lives, when we don't know what is dharma, what is the right thing to do, we should always turn to Krishna, and then by making him the center of our life, of our emotions, of our affection, then everything becomes righteous. But if we are not aware of this, then we can be misguided by things that seem like dharma but are actually not dharma, and which cause war and so much tragedy. So I've been told I should stop by 9 completely, and there are a few minutes if there are some comments or questions on something. Okay, looks like no questions. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.